Hey everybody, my name is Nick. I am Shelly Anderson's husband. You might think it might be a little difficult to be married to a relationship and intimacy expert, and sometimes it is. This is my opportunity to agree or disagree with my wife, or to just help you with your relationship, your marriage, or intimacy. I hope you enjoy. Hey everybody, I am so grateful to be here with you today, and I do this every other week or so, and this week her podcast was entitled Husbands Are Being Fed Garbage About Intimacy. And I just want to say that I fully endorse this podcast and agree with every single thing that my wife said. However, I want to take a few minutes and just talk about this from a man's perspective. Now, as men, we often think this thought: why doesn't my wife want sex like I do? Why can't she just be like all those other women that I see in the media that just are turned on like I am, that are ready to go at any time, that want me, that want me to touch her and want me to show her all the things that I can do in my sexual mastery, and let me just have my way with you? Well, the answer to that is going to be different for every woman. One of the things I think is interesting is in media, women are portrayed much more like men than they actually are in the way that their sexual their desire works. They're very much portrayed as being sexual objects, and because they're sexual objects, they respond like sexual objects, and that just seems to be okay with the world. And I know that that is not true at all. I'll just make this statement, and you can share this with your husband or your wife, or not. Just take this for what it is. I have learned how to help my wife to want sex the same way that I do. And it's not through manipulation, and it's not through sex books, and it's not through sex podcasts and, how to find the clitoris, right? Like, that is really not the issue when it comes to the differences between women and men and sex. Here's the truth. Men are taught from the time that they're young how different they are from women. And women are taught, and this probably even is more important, that men are different than them. And a lot of times in the clients that we work with, the problem is that men want sex and women don't. And women aren't interested all the time. They're not interested as often. This is a very common thing. This is not something that is wrong with you and your relationship. But men are not taught how to connect with their wife. Now, when you think back to when you were, let's just say when you were engaged and when you were first married, things probably seemed a little bit more passionate. It's exciting. The honeymoon phase is something that we say. These are all things that are real. But as you are married for a while, you start to realize, oh man, this person that I married isn't exactly who I thought they were going to be, because you really do learn so much about an individual through marriage. But this is the beauty of marriage. This is the beautiful thing that people who are single and say, oh, marriage is boring and I only get to have one sexual partner. This is the reason why that is such a lie. It is BS, because the only way that you can really exceed the norm or the averages when it comes to sexual gratification is through marriage. I 100% believe that. I 100% believe that two people together, working together, learning about each other over a long period of time, you have the ability to find mastery in intimacy. Now, as we've talked about before, there's many different kinds of intimacy. There's actually 24 different kinds of intimacy, and there's only a few of them that are physical. Okay, and let's just talk about sexual intimacy, because that's what men are fed. Now, let me get back to the statement I made earlier. I have gotten to a place where I can help my wife and her sexual desire match mine, because I have, first of all, this is a key to men. We have to disregard the things that we're taught by the world and the things that we're taught by even our parents or the things that we're taught by our friends, because the key is learning your wife and what her desires are. I have friends that may be listening to this podcast who have wives that may be a little bit more like men when it comes to how they're turned on. I have friends who are probably listening to this podcast who have told me that their wives are not interested in sex, that they don't want to participate in certain sexual practices that they want. They don't want to, do anything other than, once a month at the most, missionary style, and that's it. Okay, that's fine. But have you in your marriage really set out to discover what intimacy means for you and your wife in your marriage? Every single marriage is different. This is the biggest lie, is that what we're taught is the way things are. And the biggest secret about marriage, and the reason why marriage is so incredible, is because your marriage is different than every other marriage. And as you discover this and explore this together in the right ways, you're going to figure out things that will make you both happy. I'm not talking about just settling for what your wife will give you, right? Just be happy with, once every couple months, or be happy with once a week when you want it every day, or be happy with every other week when you want it every week. No, don't be happy with anything. And women, don't be happy with your state in intimacy in your sexual relationship with your husband either. That's bullcrap. Don't settle. Don't listen to other people. Don't even listen to yourself at this point, because you are so deceived. It's not only husbands that are fed garbage, it's wives that are fed garbage also. Shelley talked a lot about pornography and the way that men are taught. Whether you participate in pornography and watch pornography or not, you're still being fed a pornographic idea of what sex is, even in movies and TV. They are portraying something that is entertaining, that's exciting. They don't have time in a movie to go through the long process of emotional connection. Not in most movies, right? Even in a movie like The Notebook, for example, one of our favorite movies, my wife's favorite movie. I really like it too. But that relationship between those two, how passionate it was, that is something that can happen. Yeah, and it should happen every once in a while. But they separate, they, go their own ways, and then they come back together, and then they end up having a great relationship. And so the whole movie really talks about all of the different types and stages of intimacy. Even when someone grows old together and you have your challenges, you can still love that person with every part of you, even if sex isn't even involved. That is another secret for men. Men are not taught that they can be satisfied with an emotional relationship. Look, I'm not satisfied unless I have all of it, which this is how most men are. We think about sex and we have this desire. As you get older, it's not as intense. But there is so much more to a relationship with somebody that you love than just sex. So my response to this podcast is that Shelley is right. Men are fed garbage, but so are women. And my advice to you as a man who's been through this, and you guys all know that I've gone through this with my wife. There's been times when she's not interested in having sex with me. And I have committed myself to being the best man that I can be for her. And by doing that, she has changed and she has committed herself to being better for me and my needs. It goes both ways. Anybody that thinks that they need to just settle in marriage and just be happy, with kind of the status quo of whatever your marriage is, you're wrong. I'm going to tell you you're wrong, because I promise you that you have not, even if you've gone to counseling, you've read all the books, you've done all of these things. First of all, you have not gotten to a place where you can talk about sex comfortably without feeling shame or feeling guilt. How about this? Wouldn't you like to have a guilt-free, shame-free, passionate mastery of your sexual relationship? I do. I want that, but it takes working on it constantly. And if I look at the satisfaction that I have in my marriage when it comes to our intimate relationship, even over the last 2 years, it's improved, right? I've been married for going on 22 years. And every single year we learn something new. I'm not telling you it's going to take 22 years to figure this out. I'm telling you that you can figure it out in a short amount of time if you're both committed to it. And that means that you're both committed to compromise. Attached to this video and this podcast in the description is a link to, first of all, it's a guide to how to talk about sex. And, there may be some words in there that you don't like, but this is an opportunity for you guys to name sex, orgasm, your genitals, whatever it is that you're both comfortable with. Like, let's say a husband's like, hey, baby, come over here and, touch my dick. That probably set a couple of you off and triggered you because it sounds so crude, right? It is crude, but that's how men are taught to speak about sex. Now, I'm sure that most of your husbands have learned that that's not a good way to talk to you. But instead of just saying, oh, I don't like that, how about you have a conversation about what to call your parts, right? There's a lot of really crude words about a vagina or a penis or orgasm or ejaculation, all of these things. Don't listen to what the media tells you to call it. Talk about it. If a man wants to say, hey, is it okay if I say come when it comes to ejaculation? You might say, no, I'd rather have you say finish or go or whatever. But you might say, that's okay. And now all of a sudden he knows he can say whatever you both agreed to without feeling weird about it. Let's get rid of the weirdness in the bedroom between married couples. Get rid of it. There shouldn't be any weirdness. You should be able to talk about, hey, do you like how I'm touching your clitoris? Or do you like how I'm touching your breasts? Whatever it is. Let's not get too crude here in this, but in the privacy of your own home, between you two, where it is absolutely appropriate, you can have this conversation. So click on the link for that guide on how to more comfortably talk about sex. There's also free guides on my wife's website, and there are some really good guides and helps on how to make decisions about your sexual relationship, how to increase your emotional connection, and how to increase your physical connection. My response is very much my own. My experience is not going to be your experience. Our whole goal in the podcast and the online courses, and by the way, you can get access to all of these at shelly.andersoncoaching.com. That is the website, shelly.andersoncoaching.com. You can access her master course on intimacy, which is great for men and women, about how to learn about yourself and your marriage. There's also a really short mini course called Restoring Intimacy, which is amazing, again, for both men and women. Go on this journey. My response to the fact that men are being fed garbage and women are being fed garbage about intimacy is to forget everything that you've learned and go on a journey together and learn how to talk about it. Click on that link, go to the website, and look at all the other free things that are available on the homepage. There's a picture of Shelly going like this, like pointing. Scroll down below that, you'll be able to see all the freebies. I fully believe in marriage, and this is the last thing I'll say about it. In the world that we're living in, with all the challenges that we have, there is nothing more important than two people coming together. It's an exponential benefit to the world. Family is critical to maintaining the goodness and exceeding the things that are possible when you are not married and you don't have a good relationship. You can be married and not have any good influence on the world if you're not connected and together and really working together. After your kids are gone, what are you going to do? What are you going to focus on? Well, you got to learn how to do that now, even when you have kids at home. If you are beyond children and you're home and you're retired and you're trying to figure out how to find that beauty again in your life, I especially am talking to you. Take these courses, figure out together how to be absolutely one and happy. Marriage is meant to bring joy. It has brought so much joy to me, even though it is hard. It is dang hard to have a really happy marriage consistently. But if you know how to work together and if you have the tools, you're going to be able to do it. God bless you all. Take care.